The surveillance photo appeared on screen 37 in a control room that never slept. Jae Hyun-woo's eyes moved across monitors displaying transactions, threat assessments, facial recognition alerts, the digital heartbeat of Siren City's underground. Then he stopped. His hand raised fractionally, and the entire room went silent. Zoom in. Screen 37. The image enlarged. A woman. Dark skin catching neon light like photography itself. Camera raised to her face, capturing something in Siren's night market district. Completely unaware that behind her, in the blurred background, 3 men in black jackets were closing distance. Black-tied syndicate markings visible on the nearest one's collar. Hyun-woo's security chief, Park Jin-soo, cleared his throat. Street photographer. American. Been in the city 4 days. No criminal record. No known affiliations. Why was she there? Wrong place, wrong time. The syndicate was moving product through that sector. She was just. She photographed them. Hyun-woo's voice was flat, certain. Whether she meant to or not. Jin-soo nodded reluctantly. Likely in background shots, yes. Then she's already marked. Hyun-woo studied her face, the concentration in her expression, the way her whole body focused through that camera lens like the rest of the world had ceased to exist. Find her. Before they do. Sir, she's a civilian. Not our concern. She became our concern the moment she appeared in that sector during active operations. Hyun-woo's tone carried absolute authority. I want location, hotel, movement patterns. Everything. Jin-soo hesitated. In 15 years of service, he'd never seen Hyun-woo personally track a civilian. Are we protecting her? Or containing her? Both. Hyun-woo's eyes didn't leave the screen. She doesn't know it yet, but she's already in a war. Lena Carter's camera clicked 3 times in rapid succession, capturing light bleeding through Siren City's ancient architecture, neon signs reflecting in rain puddles, the collision of old Korea and new commerce. For days in this city and she still couldn't process its density, millions of people compressed into vertical living, every street corner a negotiation between tradition and transformation. She lowered her camera, checking the shots on her display. Good. Not great. Nothing that would make her father proud. The thought arrived unwanted, as it always did. Her father. Dead 6 months. Heart attack at 53. Too young. Too sudden. Too many questions left unanswered. Including why he'd kept a faded photograph of himself with a Korean man, dated 1996, hidden in a lockbox she'd only discovered while settling his estate. On the back, in her father's handwriting, Sungmin, Siren City. The debt stands. No explanation. No context. Just enough mystery to pull Lena across the Pacific with her grief and her camera and the desperate hope that photographing her father's past might somehow make sense of his absence. Her phone buzzed. A text from her best friend Maya back in Brooklyn, "You okay? Been radio silent for 2 days." Lena typed back, "Fine. Just working. Lost track of time." The lie came easily. She wasn't fine. Hadn't been fine since standing at her father's funeral, watching her mother's dry-eyed grief, feeling the weight of unanswered questions pressed down like physical force. She pocketed her phone and kept walking, camera ready, scanning for moments worth capturing. That's when she felt it, the subtle wrongness that came from years of street photography in rough neighborhoods. The awareness of being watched. She turned slowly, casually, checking reflections in store windows. Nothing obvious. But the feeling persisted. Lena quickened her pace, turning down a side street toward her hotel. The feeling followed. She made a deliberate wrong turn, then doubled back. Testing. A black SUV appeared 2 blocks back, maintaining distance. Her heart rate spiked. This wasn't paranoia. This was confirmation. She ducked into a convenience store, pretending to browse while watching the street through glass doors. The SUV stopped. Waited. No one exited. Professional surveillance. Lena paid for gum she didn't want and left through the back exit, moving fast through connecting alleys until she reached her hotel, a modest place in Itaewon where tourists congregated and anonymity was easier. In her room, she locked the door and sat on the bed, breathing hard. For days in Siren City. For days of photographing streets and markets and ordinary life. What had she captured that warranted professional surveillance? She opened her laptop and scrolled through yesterday's photos. Street scenes. Food vendors. Architectural details. Then. She stopped. A photo from the night market. Taken carelessly, focused on lantern light, but in the background, slightly out of focus, 3 men in conversation. One of them wore a jacket with distinctive markings she hadn't noticed while shooting. Lena zoomed in. The quality degraded but the image was clear enough. Money changing hands. A briefcase. Faces that carried weight. Oh God, she whispered. She'd accidentally documented a criminal transaction. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Korean area code. She stared at it, finger hovering over decline. It rang again. Against every instinct, she answered. Lena Carter. The voice was male, Korean accent minimal, tone absolutely calm. You don't know me. But I know you're in danger. Her hand tightened on the phone. Who is this? Someone who can help. If you're smart enough to accept it. I don't need, you photographed Black Tide Syndicate operations last night. They've already identified your camera's serial number from security footage. Your hotel is compromised. You have approximately 20 minutes before they arrive. Lena's blood went cold. How do you know this? Because I'm the reason they haven't reached you yet. A pause. My name is Jae Hyun-woo. And right now, I'm the only thing standing between you and a very permanent solution to their security problem. I'll go to the police. The police can't protect you from people who own half the precinct captains in this city. His voice remained maddeningly calm. You have 2 choices. Come with my security team when they arrive in 18 minutes. Or refuse, and see how long civilian authorities can keep you alive. This is insane. This is reality. You walked into something you don't understand. Now you deal with consequences or you accept help. Decide. The call ended. Lena sat frozen, heart hammering. This was absurd. Paranoid. Except she'd been followed. Except that photo was real. Except everything about this felt like standing on the edge of something much larger and more dangerous than accidental photography. Her phone buzzed again. A text from the same number, black SUV. Tinted windows. Arriving in 16 minutes. Your choice. Lena looked around her hotel room. Passport on the dresser. Camera bag by the bed. A life that had felt empty since her father died but at least had been safe. She thought about her father's photograph. The Korean man. The debt that stands. Maybe this was connected. Maybe this was exactly what she'd come to Siren City to find. Or maybe she was about to make the worst decision of her life. 15 minutes later, Lena stood in a hotel lobby with her camera bag and passport, watching through glass doors as a black SUV pulled up exactly on time. The back door opened. A man stepped out, late 30s, expensive suit, military posture, expression that communicated absolute competence. Ms. Carter. I'm Park Jin-soo. Please come with me. Lena's hands shook as she gripped her camera bag. Where are we going? Somewhere safer than here. That's not an answer. It's the only one I'm authorized to give. Jin-soo's tone wasn't unkind, just final. Please. We're running out of time. Lena looked back at the hotel, cheap wallpaper, questionable plumbing, a bed she'd barely slept in. Then at the SUV with its tinted windows and implied danger. She got in the car. The penthouse occupied the top floor of a building that hadn't existed in any tourist guide Lena had studied. The elevator required 2 key cards and a biometric scan. The hallway was empty, silent, expensive in ways that communicated power without needing to announce it. Jin-soo opened the door to a space that looked more like an architectural magazine spread than a home. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul City's impossible density. Minimalist furniture. Art that probably cost more than Lena's yearly salary. And standing by those windows, backlit by city lights, a man who radiated control like other people radiated warmth. Jae Hyun-woo turned. He was younger than Lena expected, mid-30s maybe, though his eyes carried decades more weight. Tall. Composed. Wearing casual clothes that somehow looked more intimidating than Jin-soo's formal suit. Ms. Carter. His voice matched the phone call, calm, measured, absolutely certain. Thank you for being reasonable. Reasonable? Lena set down her camera bag with more force than necessary. I was threatened into a car by strangers and brought to a location I don't know. That's not reasonable. That's kidnapping. If I'd wanted to kidnap you, you wouldn't have been given a choice. Hyun-woo moved away from the windows, his movements economical, controlled. You were given information and options. You chose the option that keeps you breathing. Who are you? Someone with resources you need and problems you've accidentally become part of. The photograph. Several photographs. But yes, primarily the one from last night's market. He gestured to a laptop on the dining table. You captured a transaction between Black Tide Syndicate and their Taiwanese suppliers. 30 kilograms of methamphetamine. Street value approximately 400 million won. Lena's stomach dropped. I didn't mean to. Intent is irrelevant. Documentation is evidence. Evidence makes you either an asset or a liability. Hyun-woo's expression didn't change. They've chosen liability. I'm offering you a different classification. Which is? Protected observer. For how long? Until the people who want you dead are convinced you're not a threat. Or until they're no longer in a position to act on that assessment. Lena processed this. You're going to kill them. I'm going to resolve a business conflict that your photography complicated. Their survival depends on variables outside your concern. The casual way he discussed murder made Lena's skin crawl. I want to go home. Impossible. Your passport is flagged. Airport security has been encouraged to detain you for questioning if you attempt departure. By who? By people who want to ensure you don't leave the country with evidence. Hyun-woo finally showed something approaching emotion, a slight tightening around his eyes. Ms. Carter, I understand this is frightening. But you're safer here than anywhere else in Seoul City. Possibly safer than anywhere else in Korea. Because you're protecting me. Because I'm valuable enough that attacking my property would cost more than tolerating your existence. I'm not your property. Legally and practically, while you're in this apartment, you are. He said it without malice, just fact. That's not romantic. It's strategic. The moment you're perceived as mine, you become untouchable to anyone who values their operational capacity. Lena wanted to argue. Wanted to rage against the casual way he'd rearranged her reality. But exhaustion and fear and the weight of 6 months' grief caught up all at once. I need to sleep, she said quietly. Hyunwoo nodded. Guest room is through there. Everything you need should be available. Jin-soo will post security outside. Am I a prisoner? You're a complication I'm choosing to resolve through protection rather than elimination. Whether that makes you a prisoner depends on your perspective. Lena grabbed her camera bag and walked toward the guest room, then paused at the threshold. The man in my father's photograph. Jae Sung-min. Do you know him? Hyunwoo's expression froze, just for a moment, but enough to confirm recognition. Why are you asking? Because my father kept that photo hidden for 25 years. Because it's the reason I came to Siren City. Because maybe nothing about this is actually accidental. Silence stretched between them. Sleep, Miss Carter. We'll discuss your father tomorrow. Lena closed the door, locked it, and collapsed onto a bed more comfortable than anything she'd slept on in months. Outside, through walls designed to block sound, she couldn't hear Hyunwoo's quiet conversation with Jin-soo. Her father is Michael Carter. Confirmed. Former military. Deployed to Seoul in 1996. Personal security detail for. I know who he protected. Hyunwoo's voice was sharp. This isn't coincidence. Sir. She didn't stumble into that market by accident. She's looking for answers about her father. About my family. About debts that were supposed to stay buried. What do you want to do? Hyunwoo looked toward the closed guest room door. Keep her close. Keep her safe. And find out exactly what her father told her before he died. Lena woke to sunlight cutting through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee she hadn't made. For a disoriented moment, she thought she was home in Brooklyn, that the past 6 months had been a nightmare, that her father was alive and making his terrible burnt coffee in the kitchen. Then reality crashed back. Siren City. A penthouse prison. A man who spoke about murder like quarterly reports. She sat up, reaching instinctively for her camera. Still there. Still hers. The one thing in this situation she could control. The coffee smell intensified. She followed it to the main living space. Hyunwoo stood at the kitchen counter, pouring coffee into 2 cups with the precision of someone who approached everything systematically. He'd changed, simple black shirt, dark slacks, still radiating that controlled danger that made Lena's instincts scream warnings her curiosity ignored. You're awake, he said without turning. How did you know? Your breathing pattern changed. The floor sensors registered movement. He gestured to a cup. Coffee. Black. Your preferred method according to your credit card history at Brooklyn cafes. Lena stared at him. You investigated my coffee habits. I investigated everything. Dietary restrictions. Medication. Allergies. Sleep patterns. Professional history. Educational background. Father's military service record. He finally turned, his expression neutral. If I'm protecting you, I know you completely. The violation should have angered her. Instead, she felt something uncomfortably close to being seen. Really seen, in ways her own mother had stopped managing after her father died. She took the coffee. Thank you. You're welcome. They stood in silence, drinking coffee while Seoul's morning traffic hummed 40 stories below. Lena found herself studying him the way she studied subjects through her camera, looking for the truth beneath performance. You mentioned my father yesterday, she said finally. Jae Sung-min. How did you know him? He was my father. The simple statement landed like a grenade. Lena set down her coffee cup before her shaking hands betrayed her. Your father? Yes. The man in my father's photograph. The debt that stands. Her mind raced through connections. My father protected yours. Some kind of security detail. More than that. Hyun-woo moved to the windows, his back to her. 1996, my father was building his organization. Consolidating power. Making enemies faster than alliances. He needed protection he could trust absolutely. Your father provided that. For how long? 18 months. Then his deployment ended. He returned to America. A pause. My father never forgot the debt. Neither did I. Is that why you're helping me? Because of something my father did 25 years ago. Hyun-woo turned, and for the first time, Lena saw something approaching emotion in his eyes. I'm helping you because you're Michael Carter's daughter. Because the debt stands. Because honor matters even in dishonorable professions. My father never mentioned you. Never mentioned Korea beyond basic deployment details. He wouldn't have. Discretion was part of the arrangement. Hyun-woo moved closer, studying her face. You look like him. Same eyes. Same way of seeing things others miss. Lena's throat tightened. He died 6 months ago. I know. Heart attack. I sent flowers to the funeral. Your mother probably didn't notice the Korean sender. You sent, Lena's voice cracked. Why didn't you identify yourself? Because your father kept my family's secrets for 25 years. Revealing myself at his funeral would have been disrespectful to that loyalty. Hyun-woo's expression softened fractionally. I'm sorry for your loss. He was a good man in a world that doesn't reward goodness. They stood 3 feet apart, connected by dead fathers and inherited debts, and Lena felt something shift in her understanding of this situation. This wasn't just accidental danger. This was legacy. Consequence. The past refusing to stay buried. What happened to your father? She asked quietly. He was killed. 7 years ago. Business dispute that became personal. I'm sorry. Don't be. He knew the risks. So did I when I inherited his position. Position? Hyun-woo's slight smile was humorless. You're a photographer. You understand composition. Power structures. Visual hierarchy. He gestured at the city below. I manage the organization my father built. Legitimate businesses with complicated foundations. That's all you need to know. Lena wanted to push, to ask about the violence, the danger, the casual way he discussed murder. But something in his expression closed that door. How long do I have to stay here? She asked instead. Until it's safe. That's not an answer. It's the only one I can give. He checked his watch, expensive, understated, probably cost more than her camera. I have meetings. Jin-soo will be outside if you need anything. Don't leave the apartment. So I am a prisoner. You're protected. There's a difference. He left before she could argue. Lena stood alone in a penthouse that cost more than her entire existence, drinking coffee a dangerous man had made for her, processing the revelation that her father's past had reached across decades to trap her in consequences she didn't understand. She did what she always did when reality became overwhelming. She picked up her camera. 3 days passed in strange domestic tension. Hyun-woo left early, returned late. They shared space without sharing conversation. Coffee appeared before she woke. Meals materialized without discussion. He moved through the apartment like a ghost, present but untouchable. Lena photographed everything. The way morning light cut through glass. The city's vertical density. The contrast between luxury and the violence she knew existed just beneath the surface. She never photographed him. It felt like crossing a line neither of them had acknowledged but both understood existed. On the fourth morning, someone else arrived. The elevator chimed. Lena tensed. Hyun-woo never returned before noon. But the man who entered wasn't Hyun-woo. He was younger, warmer, moving with easy confidence instead of controlled danger. Where Hyun-woo's presence demanded space, this man filled it with comfort. You must be Lena. His English was perfect, his smile genuine. I'm Jae Min-suk. Hyun-woo's brother. Lena lowered her camera, she'd raised it instinctively. Brother? Half-brother, technically. Different mothers. Same father. Same dangerous profession we both got born into. Min-suk set down bags that smelled like food from actual restaurants instead of whatever perfect meal prep service stocked Hyun-woo's refrigerator. I brought breakfast. Real breakfast. Not the nutritionally optimized garbage my brother probably feeds you. Despite herself, Lena smiled. He makes good coffee. That's literally the only thing he makes. Everything else is ordered, delivered, and consumed with the same enthusiasm he shows reading financial reports. Min-suk started unpacking containers, dumplings, rice porridge, kimchi, banchan dishes that looked homemade. I heard you were staying here. Thought you could use company that doesn't communicate primarily through intimidating silence. You're very different from him. Thank God. One Hyun-woo in the world is sufficient. Min-suk gestured to the dining table. Come. Eat. Tell me about yourself. I promise not to have already investigated your entire existence. They ate breakfast while Min-suk talked, about growing up in Hyun-woo's shadow, about their father's complicated legacy, about navigating a world where violence was currency and loyalty was survival. Hyun-woo takes everything seriously, Min-suk explained, refilling her tea. Including protection. If he says you're safe here, you're safe. He doesn't make promises he can't keep. He also doesn't explain anything. That's his version of kindness. The less you know, the less danger you're in. Min-suk's expression grew serious. But you should know, he doesn't normally do this. Protect civilians. Open his space. The fact that you're here means something. My father saved his father's life. I know. But that debt was your father's, not yours. Hyun-woo choosing to extend that protection to you. Min-suk met her eyes. That's personal. He just won't admit it. Before Lena could respond, the elevator chimed again. Hyun-woo entered, stopped when he saw them, his expression flickering with something that might have been annoyance or might have been relief. Min-suk. Hyung. Min-suk's smile was unrepentant. I brought breakfast. You're welcome. I didn't authorize. You don't authorize me anymore. Remember? I got my own territory now. Min-suk stood, gathering empty containers. Lena, I'm taking you out tomorrow. Show you the city that isn't trying to kill you. That's not safe, Hyun-woo said immediately. I'll bring security. She can't stay locked in your fortress forever. Min-suk moved toward the elevator, pausing to clap Hyun-woo's shoulder. Let her breathe, Hyung. She's not a possession to control. She's a person to protect. There's a difference. He left before Hyun-woo could argue. The silence that followed was weighted, awkward. Hyun-woo stood by the windows, hands in pockets, jaw tight. Your brother is very different from you, Lena said finally. He wasn't raised for this. I was. Hyun-woo's voice was careful. He gets to be warm. I get to be effective. You think warmth and effectiveness are mutually exclusive? In my world? Yes. That's sad. He turned, studying her with that unnerving intensity. You feel pity for me? I feel like you've convinced yourself that being alone makes you strong. When really, it just makes you alone. Hyun-woo's expression closed completely. I have meetings. He left. Lena sat in expensive silence, wondering if she'd just crossed another invisible line, wondering why she cared if she had. Min-suk kept his promise. The next morning, he arrived with security, 2 men who looked capable of extreme violence delivered with professional calm, and an itinerary that made Lena laugh for the first time in days. Underground markets, rooftop cafe, maybe a noribang if you're feeling brave, he announced. Full cultural immersion. 0 assassination attempts. I promise. That's a low bar for a successful day, Lena said, but she grabbed her camera. Hyun-woo watched from his position by the windows, expression unreadable. 6 hours, he said to Min-suk. She's back here by sunset. Yes, Mom. Min-suk rolled his eyes, then turned to Lena. Ready to see the real Siren city? They spent the day moving through neighborhoods that tourist guides didn't mention. Underground food markets where vendors shouted in Korean and Min-suk translated with theatrical flair. Tiny cafes tucked between skyscrapers, serving coffee better than anything Lena had tasted in Brooklyn. Street art hidden in alleys where traditional murals collided with modern graffiti. Lena photographed everything. The light. The people. The way Min-suk's face transformed when he talked about the city he loved despite its darkness. You love it here, she observed, reviewing shots on her camera display. I hate it here, he corrected. But it's home. You don't choose where you belong. You just accept it and try to make it better. Is that what you're doing? Making it better? I'm trying to do what my father couldn't. Build something legitimate on top of necessary darkness. He bought them roasted chestnuts from a street vendor, the smell mixing with car exhaust and possibility. Hyun-woo believes in control. Order. Absolute authority. I believe in transition. Evolution. Becoming something new without forgetting what we were. That sounds exhausting. It is. But it beats the alternative. He looked at her seriously. Lena, why did you really come to Siren City? And don't say just to honor your father's memory. There's more. Lena hesitated, then pulled out her phone, showing him the photograph. Her father. Jae Sung-min, 1996. I came looking for answers. For connection to a part of my father's life he never shared. I thought maybe understanding his past would help me understand why he never talked about it. And now? Now I'm trapped in a penthouse with a man who won't explain anything, protected from danger I accidentally created, connected to a legacy I didn't know existed. Min-suk studied the photograph, something sad flickering across his face. Your father saved ours. Not just physically. Emotionally. There was an attempt on my father's life, professional hit, very close to succeeding. Your father intercepted it. Took a bullet meant for my father. Survived, but barely. Lena's breath caught. He never told me. He had a scar on his shoulder. Said it was training accident. It was love, Min-suk said quietly. Your father loved my father like a brother. Protected him like family. That kind of loyalty is rare in our world. Hyun-woo remembers that. It's why he's protecting you with the same absolute commitment. It feels like control. Because to him, protection and control are the same thing. He can't imagine one without the other. Min-suk handed back her phone. But maybe you're the person who teaches him differently. They returned to the penthouse as sunset painted Seoul in gold and shadow. Hyun-woo was waiting, positioned by the windows like he'd never left, though Lena suspected he'd been tracking their location all day. You survived, he observed. Shockingly, yes. Lena set down her camera bag. Your brother showed me a completely different city than the one I thought existed. He showed you the parts that don't want you dead. That's not the whole city. Maybe not. But it's the part worth remembering. Something flickered across Hyun-woo's face, too fast to identify, gone before Lena could photograph it with her mind. Min-suk left with promises to return, with warmth that made the penthouse feel colder in his absence. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching Seoul's endless lights, thinking about her father's secrets and inherited debts and the strange pull she felt toward a man who communicated primarily through protective silence. You should rest. Hyun-woo's voice came from behind her. She hadn't heard him approach. I keep thinking about my father. About what Min-suk told me. The bullet he took. He saved my father's life. I won't forget that. Neither will anyone in my organization. Is that why you're doing this? Obligation? Hyun-woo moved beside her, close enough that she could feel his presence, distant enough to maintain that careful space between them. Initially, yes. Now. He paused. Now it's more complicated. How? You ask questions I'm not ready to answer. Why not? Because answering them changes things. And I'm not certain change is safe. They stood in silence, two people connected by dead fathers and impossible circumstances, and Lena wondered if safety was something either of them would ever really have. The discovery happened on a Saturday morning, 2 weeks into Lena's captivity disguised as protection. She'd been reviewing her father's journal, a worn leather notebook she'd found in his lockbox alongside the photograph, filled with deployment notes written in his precise military handwriting. Most entries were mundane. Guard rotations. Threat assessments. Weather patterns. Then she found the page that changed everything. June 15, 1996. Incident at the warehouse. Sunmin targeted, professional hit, likely Chongpa faction. Intercepted primary shooter. Took round to left shoulder. Sunmin extracted safely. He wants to pay me. I refused. Some debts aren't about money. They're about recognizing when someone's worth dying for. He asked why I'd take a bullet for him. I told him, because you're building something that could be legitimate. Because your sons deserve a father. Because sometimes the only way to stop darkness is to protect the light trying to exist inside it. Lena read it 3 times, her father's voice echoing through the words. He hadn't just protected Jae Sung-min. He'd believed in him. Had seen potential for something better in a man building a criminal empire. She heard movement in the main room. Hyun-woo, earlier than usual. She found him at the dining table, laptop open, face illuminated by screen light that made him look younger, more vulnerable. You're awake, he said without looking up. Couldn't sleep. She hesitated, then sat across from him. I found something in my father's journal. About the shooting. About why he protected your father. Hyun-woo's fingers stilled on the keyboard. What did it say? She read him the passage. When she finished, silence stretched between them like a living thing. He believed my father could build something legitimate, Hyun-woo said finally. He was wrong. Was he? You're still here. Still running the organization. Maybe that's the legitimate part, continuity. Survival. Protection. Protection through violence isn't legitimate. It's just organized chaos with better PR. And yet you protect me. Is that chaos or something else? Hyun-woo closed his laptop, meeting her eyes directly. With you, it's complicated. Because of my father. Because you make me question things I stopped questioning years ago. His voice was careful, measured. Like whether protection has to mean control. Whether keeping someone safe requires keeping them isolated. Whether. His phone buzzed. He checked it, his expression shifting instantly to something harder. What's wrong? Black Tide movement. They're consolidating territory. Pushing boundaries. He stood, already moving toward his bedroom. Stay inside. Jin-soo will be posted outside. Hyun-woo. He paused at the threshold, not turning back. I'll handle it. That's not what I'm worried about. Then what? That you'll handle it the way you handle everything. Alone. Without letting anyone close enough to help. His shoulders tensed. I don't need help. Everyone needs help. You just won't admit it. He left without responding. The meeting happened in a warehouse that smelled like rain and old violence. Hyun-woo stood facing Kang Dae-jin, late 40s, Black Tide Syndicate's territorial commander, a man whose smile communicated threat more effectively than words. Jae Hyun-woo. Daejin's Korean was soul-accented, refined. Always punctual. I appreciate that. You requested this meeting. State your purpose. Direct. Also appreciated. Dae-jin lit a cigarette, smoke curling between them. I'm here about the American photographer. The one you've been sheltering. Hyun-woo's expression didn't change. She's under my protection. That should be sufficient information. Normally, yes. But this situation is unique. Dae-jin pulled out a tablet, turned it to display surveillance photos. Lena. Walking with Min-suk. Laughing at a street market. Completely unaware she was being documented. She photographed our operations. Those images could be evidence. Evidence becomes liability. The images have been destroyed. Have they? Or are you protecting her because of something else? Daejin's smile widened. I did some research. Her father, Michael Carter. Former military. Saved your father's life in 1996. Interesting legacy. Her father's service is irrelevant to current operations. Is it? Because it seems very relevant to why you're breaking your own rules about civilian involvement. Dae-jin stepped closer. You've spent 15 years building reputation on being untouchable. Emotionless. Calculating. Then this woman appears and suddenly you're playing protector. People are starting to ask questions. Let them ask. Questions create weakness. Weakness creates opportunity. Daejin's tone hardened. I'm offering you a solution. Give me the photographer. I'll handle the evidence problem. You maintain your reputation. Everyone wins. Except her. She's a civilian who stumbled into our world. Casualties happen. Hyun-woo's hand moved fractionally, not toward a weapon, but the implication was clear. She stays under my protection. Anyone who challenges that challenges me directly. Make sure your organization understands that. This is about more than protection. You care about her. I honor debts. Her father saved my father. The debt extends to her. Debts expire. Especially when the person they're owed to is dead. Dae-jin crushed his cigarette under expensive shoes. I'm giving you 72 hours to reconsider. After that, the American becomes everyone's problem. And problems get solved. Is that a threat? It's a timeline. What happens after depends entirely on your choices. Dae-jin left. Hyun-woo stood alone in the warehouse, processing the reality that protecting Lena had just painted a target on both of them. He returned to the penthouse after midnight. Lena was still awake, reading by the window, and looked up when he entered. "You're back." "I'm back." She studied his face, seeing something there that hadn't been visible before. "What happened?" "Complications." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I'm giving." He moved to pour whiskey, his movements controlled but carrying tension. "You should sleep." "Hyun-woo, I'm not a child. If something's wrong, tell me." He drank, set down the glass with careful precision. "They want you. Black tide. They're willing to push boundaries to eliminate the evidence you represent." Lena's stomach dropped. "What did you tell them?" "That you're under my protection. That challenging you means challenging me." "And they accepted that?" "They gave me 72 hours to reconsider before they make it everyone's problem." "Then give me to them." Hyun-woo's head snapped toward her. "What?" "Give me to them. End this. I'm not worth starting a war over." "That's not your decision to make. It's my life. And it's my honor." His voice rose, the first time she'd heard him lose control. "Your father took a bullet meant for my father. He believed in something better. I won't dishonor that by handing you over to people who'll make you disappear. So you'll start a war instead?" "If necessary, yes." Lena stood, moving closer to him, close enough to see the war happening behind his controlled expression. "Why? Really why?" "Because this stopped being about my father's debt weeks ago." "Don't." "Don't what?" "Ask you to be honest. To admit that maybe this is about more than obligation." "Lena. Say it. Whatever you're feeling. Stop hiding behind duty and protection and tell me the truth." Hyun-woo looked at her, really looked, the way she looked through her camera lens, searching for what was real beneath performance. "The truth is you terrify me," he said quietly. "Because protecting you was supposed to be simple. Honor a debt. Keep you safe. Send you home. But it stopped being simple the moment I realized keeping you safe meant keeping you close. And keeping you close meant caring about more than just obligation." The confession hung between them, raw and honest. "I terrify you?" Lena whispered. "Completely. Because people I care about become targets. Liabilities. Weapons others use against me." His voice was rough. "My world doesn't allow for caring. It punishes it. And I refuse to let you become another casualty of my choices. So you'll push me away instead? Keep everything controlled and distant? I'll keep you alive. That's all that matters." "No, it's not." Lena reached out, her hand hovering near his face. "Living and surviving aren't the same thing. I learned that after my father died. You can survive everything and still be dead inside." Hyun-woo caught her hand before it touched him, his grip gentle but firm. "Don't make this harder than it already is. Someone should." He released her hand and stepped back, that careful distance reinstated. "Sleep. We'll figure out the next move tomorrow." "Hyun-woo. Please. Just, sleep." He walked away, disappearing into his room, leaving Lena alone with the echo of the most honest thing he'd said since she'd arrived. Morning brought Min-suk and news that complicated everything further. He arrived unannounced, his usual warmth dimmed by urgency. "Hyung, we have a problem." Hyun-woo emerged from his bedroom, already dressed, already controlled. "What problem?" "Black tide isn't just posturing. They're positioning. Moving assets. Fortifying territory. They're preparing for escalation. How do you know? Because I still have contacts in their organization. People who owe me favors. Min-suk glanced at Lena, then back at Hyun-woo. They're not just targeting her. They're targeting you. Using her as justification. For what? Territory grab. They've wanted our Gangnam operations for years. This gives them excuse to move. Either you hand over the American and look weak, or you protect her and they claim you're compromising organizational security for personal reasons. It's a trap, Lena said. It's strategy. Hyun-woo's voice was cold. And I'm not playing their game. Then what's the alternative? Min-suk asked. Because doing nothing means they move anyway. And they won't stop with territory. They'll come for her. For you. For anyone connected to this situation. Hyun-woo was silent for a long moment. Then, we removed their justification. How? By making it clear that protecting Lena isn't personal weakness. It's strategic strength. She's not a liability I'm attached to. She's an asset I'm controlling. That's a lie, Lena said quietly. It's a narrative. Hyun-woo met her eyes. And in my world, narrative matters more than truth. So you'll what? Parade me around as your possession? I'll make it clear that you're valuable enough to protect. That protecting you demonstrates power, not vulnerability. That anyone who challenges that challenges the foundation of how this organization operates. You're going to use me as bait. I'm going to use you as leverage. There's a difference. Min-suk looked between them, seeing something neither was saying. Hyung, this is dangerous. If they call your bluff. They won't. Because it's not a bluff. Hyun-woo's expression hardened. I'm protecting her. The question is whether I do it quietly and appear weak, or publicly and maintain authority. And if maintaining authority means putting me in more danger. Lena demanded. Then I ensure the danger is controlled. Managed. Eliminated before it reaches you. How very reassuring. It's the best I can offer in a world that doesn't reward honesty. Lena wanted to argue, to rage against the casual way he rearranged her safety into strategy. But something in his eyes stopped her. Fear. Real, genuine fear hiding beneath control. He was terrified of losing her. And using the only tools he had, power, strategy, calculated violence, to prevent it. Fine, she said. Use me as leverage. But when this is over, we talk. Really talk. About what this is beyond protection and debt and strategy. Hyun-woo nodded once. When this is over. Min-suk looked at his brother with something like pity. You're in way over your head, Hyung. I know. And you're still going to do this? I don't have a choice. Not anymore. The event was called a cultural exhibition, art, photography, wealthy patrons pretending to care about creative expression while actually negotiating business deals under the guise of appreciation. Hyun-woo used it as a stage to reframe Lena's presence in his world. Stay close, he said as they entered the gallery space. Smile when appropriate. Let me do the talking. Lena wore a dress Min-suk had procured, elegant black that made her skin glow under gallery lighting, expensive enough to communicate status without trying. Her camera hung around her neck, not as a tool, but as an accessory, a prop in the narrative Hyun-woo was constructing. She hated every second of this performance. They moved through the crowd, and Lena felt eyes tracking them. Whispers. Calculations. Everyone trying to understand what the famously isolated Jae Hyun-woo was doing with an African-American woman at a public event. Relax, he murmured, his hand at the small of her back, possessive, protective, strategic. You look like you're being marched to execution. Aren't I? You're being introduced as someone under my protection who serves my interests. That's survival, not execution. And what are my interests supposed to be? Photography. Cultural documentation. Recording moments others miss. His grip tightened fractionally. They're approaching. Follow my lead. Kang Dae-jin materialized from the crowd with 2 associates, his smile sharp as broken glass. Jae Hyun-woo. How unexpected to see you at a cultural event. You usually avoid these displays. I'm expanding my interests. Hyun-woo's tone was neutral, controlled. Kang Dae-jin, this is Lena Carter. Ms. Carter, Mr. Kang leads territorial operations for Black Tide Syndicate. Lena extended her hand, keeping her expression pleasant despite recognizing the man who wanted her dead. Mr. Kang. Dae-jin took her hand, holding it a beat too long. Ms. Carter. The photographer. I've seen your work. Have you? Street photography. Capturing moments of urban life. Very observant. His eyes held hers. Sometimes too observant. I photograph what I see. Nothing more. And what do you see here? Dae-jin released her hand, his smile widening. In this room full of people pretending to appreciate art while conducting business, I see performance. Everyone playing roles. Including us. Something flickered in Dae-jin's expression, surprise, maybe respect. Honest. I appreciate that. Honesty is Ms. Carter's greatest asset, Hyun-woo interjected smoothly. She sees what others miss. Documents it. That documentation has value to my operations. Value how? Information. Patterns. Evidence of what happens in spaces people think are private. Hyun-woo's hand remained at Lena's back, grounding her. She works for me now. Exclusively. The lie was delivered with such casual certainty that Lena almost believed it herself. Dae-jin studied them both, his calculation visible. Interesting career transition. From independent artist to corporate documentation. Survival requires adaptation, Lena said, finding her footing in this performance. Mr. J offered protection and purpose. I accepted both. Protection from what? From people who misunderstand the nature of observation. Who see documentation as threat rather than tool. Dae-jin's smile sharpened further. Well played, Ms. Carter. You learn quickly. I'm a fast study. Clearly. He turned to Hyun-woo. We should discuss this development. Privately. Tomorrow. My office. Hyun-woo's tone made it clear the conversation was ending. If you'll excuse us, Ms. Carter needs to document this event. They moved away before Dae-jin could respond. Lena waited until they were out of earshot before speaking. That was a lie. All of it. That was strategy. And it worked. You established yourself as valuable rather than vulnerable. I established myself as your employee. Your possession. Better than being his target. Hyun-woo guided her toward a quieter section of the gallery. You did well. Better than I expected. Because you expected me to crumble. Because I expected you to rebel against the performance. But you understood the necessity. Lena stopped, turning to face him directly. I understood that you're terrified. That this whole display is about protecting me while maintaining the power structure you've built. That admitting you care would be seen as weakness in a world that punishes vulnerability. Hyun-woo's expression flickered. Don't. Don't what? Say what we both know is true. That this stopped being about my father's debt the moment you realized keeping me safe mattered more than strategic positioning? Lena. I see you, Hyun-woo. Really see you. The way you see the world through control and calculation, because letting anyone close means giving them power to hurt you. But I'm not going to hurt you. You can't promise that. Neither can you. But we're both here anyway. Before he could respond, Min-suk appeared, his expression urgent. Hyun, we have a problem. Hyun-woo's attention snapped immediately to his brother. What problem? Children's home. The one father supported. Someone vandalized it tonight. Windows broken. Threats spray painted. The message was clear, they know you care about that place. Lena saw something cross Hyun-woo's face that looked like actual pain. When? 2 hours ago. Director called me because she couldn't reach you. Min-suk glanced at Lena. They're using it as leverage. Showing they can hit what you value. Get security there immediately. Triple coverage. I want. Already done. But Hyun, you should go. The kids are scared. They're asking for you. Hyun-woo's jaw tightened. I can't leave Lena unprotected. I'll stay with her, Min-suk said. Jin-soo is here. Your entire security team. She's safer at this event surrounded by witnesses than anywhere else. But those kids need you. Now. The internal war playing across Hyun-woo's face was painful to watch. Duty versus attachment. Control versus necessity. Lena made the decision for him. Go. I'll be fine. Lena. Those children need you more than I do right now. I'm surrounded by security. They're scared and alone. Go. He looked at her, and Lena saw something in his expression that made her chest ache, gratitude and fear warring for dominance. Stay with Min-suk. Don't leave his sight. I won't. Hyun-woo left, and Lena stood with Min-suk in a gallery full of people pretending to appreciate art while conducting violence. You want to see something? Min-suk asked after a moment. See what? Why Hyun-woo cares so much about that children's home. Why he's willing to risk everything to protect it. Min-suk drove her through Seoul's evening traffic to a neighborhood that didn't appear in tourist guides. The children's home was modest, old building, playground equipment showing wear, but maintained with obvious care. Inside, Lena found Hyun-woo surrounded by children ranging from 5 to 12, his entire demeanor transformed. He was crouched at their level, speaking softly, his expression open in ways she'd never seen. A little girl, maybe 7, clung to his neck, crying. He held her with infinite gentleness, murmuring reassurance in Korean. He was one of them, Min-suk said quietly beside Lena. Before our father found him. He lived here for 3 years. The director, she raised him when he had no one else. Lena's throat tightened. I didn't know. He doesn't tell people. Doesn't show this side. But every week, he comes here. Reads to them. Helps with homework. Makes sure they have what they need. Min-suk's voice was soft. This is why the vandalism hit so hard. They attacked his origin story. His reminder of where he came from. Lena watched Hyun-woo comfort the crying child, watched him interact with others, watched the careful control dissolve into something genuine and human and beautiful. She raised her camera, then lowered it. Some moments deserve to exist without documentation. Without being captured and frozen and made into evidence. This was one of them. Hyun-woo looked up, noticed her watching, and something passed between them, understanding, maybe, or permission to see him completely. Later, after the children were settled, after promises of increased security and repairs, they stood outside in evening air that smelled like rain. "You didn't photograph it," he said. "No." "Why not?" "Because some things are sacred. Personal. Not everything needs to be captured and archived and made permanent. Some things deserve to just exist as memory." Hyun-woo was quiet for a long moment. "Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing me. Without documenting it. Without using it as leverage or evidence or proof." He turned to face her. "For just seeing." Lena stepped closer, closing the distance he usually maintained. "I see you, Hyun-woo. The control and the calculation and the violence you use to protect what matters. But I also see this. The person who reads to children. Who remembers where he came from. Who's terrified of caring because caring means vulnerability. Caring is weakness in my world. No. Caring is the only thing that makes your world bearable." He reached out, his hand cupping her face with unexpected gentleness. "You're going to get hurt. Being close to me means becoming a target. I'm already a target. Being close to you means facing it with someone who understands. I can't promise safety. I don't want safety. I want truth." He kissed her then, not calculated or strategic or controlled, but desperate and honest and human. Lena kissed him back, tasting vulnerability beneath the armor, feeling the walls crack just enough to let her in. When they pulled apart, both breathing unsteadily, Hyun-woo rested his forehead against hers. "This is insane," he whispered. "Completely. We're both going to regret this. Probably. But I can't stop." "Then don't." The retaliation came 48 hours later. Lena was with Min-suk, visiting a street market to photograph daily life, surrounded by security that should have been sufficient. Should have been impenetrable. But Black Tide had studied patterns. Had waited. Had struck at the exact moment when Hyun-woo was across the city in a meeting he couldn't miss. It happened fast, too fast for security to prevent, though not fast enough to succeed. A black van. Armed men. An attempted extraction that turned into a firefight when security engaged. Min-suk threw Lena behind a vendor stall, his body shielding hers as bullets chewed through market awnings and people screamed and chaos consumed what had been ordinary life seconds earlier. "Stay down." Min-suk shouted, weapon in hand, returning fire with practiced efficiency that reminded Lena he was Hyun-woo's brother in more than blood. The firefight lasted 90 seconds, an eternity compressed into gunfire and fear and the certainty that death was measuring distance. Then Hyun-woo arrived. Lena didn't see him enter. Didn't hear him approach. But suddenly he was there, moving through violence with surgical precision, each movement calculated to end threats without wasted effort. She watched him kill 3 men in under 10 seconds. Watched the control she'd seen crack at the children's home replaced by something colder, more ruthless, absolutely lethal. This was Jae Hyun-woo without armor. Without pretense. Pure violence contained in human form. When the threat was eliminated, when security had secured the perimeter, when market vendors were fleeing and police sirens approached, Hyun-woo moved to where Lena crouched behind vendor stalls, his hands checking her for injury with desperate intensity. "Are you hurt?" "No. I'm fine. Min-suk protected me." He looked at his brother, unharmed but shaken, and something like relief crossed his face before control reasserted itself. "Get her to the car. Now. Hyung. Now." They moved through chaos to the waiting SUV. Inside, surrounded by bulletproof glass and armed security, Lena watched Hyun-woo's hands shake, the first time she'd seen him lose physical control. "This is my fault," he said quietly. "I brought you into public. Made you visible. Used you as leverage. This is Stop. Lena took his shaking hands in hers. This is Black Tide's choice. Not yours. I should have anticipated. You can't anticipate everything. You're not omniscient. You're just human trying to protect what matters. And I'm failing. No. You're fighting. There's a difference. Hyun-woo looked at their joined hands, at the evidence of his vulnerability, at the woman who'd seen him completely and hadn't fled. I can't lose you, he whispered. Then don't let go. He didn't. The war room existed in a secure location Lena wasn't supposed to know about, underground facility, reinforced walls, technology that looked military grade. Hyun-woo had brought her anyway, because hiding her somewhere safe had proven impossible. His entire leadership sat around a conference table, hard men who'd built careers on violence, staring at Lena like she was a problem requiring permanent solution. This has gone too far, one of them said. Park Sang-chul, operations director, 50 years of criminal experience carved into his face. Black Tide attacked us in public. Killed civilians. The police are asking questions we can't answer indefinitely. Then we end it, Hyun-woo said, his voice carrying absolute authority. Permanently. How? Another lieutenant asked. They're fortified. Expecting retaliation. A direct assault costs more than we're willing to pay. Then we don't assault. We remove their justification. Hyun-woo's eyes moved to Lena. Me. The American photographer they claim compromises our security. We remove that narrative. Lena's stomach dropped. What are you suggesting? That I was wrong. Protecting you put everyone at risk. The strategic choice is. Don't. Her voice was sharp, final. Don't finish that sentence. Because if you're about to suggest handing me over, I'll walk into Black Tide territory myself before I let you compromise everything you've built. Lena. No. I won't be the excuse for your organization's destruction. I won't be the reason good people die. Find another solution. Silence filled the room. Then Jin-soo spoke, his tone careful. There may be another option. One that removes their justification without removing Ms. Carter. Explain. Kang Dae-jin's operation isn't sanctioned by Black Tide's central leadership. He's acting independently, using Ms. Carter as excuse to grab territory he wants. If we can prove that to their leadership, show them he's using this situation for personal gain rather than organizational security, they'll handle him internally. You're suggesting we turn Black Tide against itself. I'm suggesting we provide accurate information to people who don't tolerate unsanctioned territorial expansion. Jin-soo pulled up documents on the display screen. Dae-jin's been redirecting syndicate resources to his personal operations. Skimming profits. Building private power base. Their leadership suspects but lacks proof. And we have proof. We can acquire it. Our contacts in their financial operations owe favors. 3 days of work, maybe less. Hyun-woo studied the documents, his expression calculating. This creates internal war within Black Tide. It creates accountability. They eliminate their problem. We eliminate ours. No public violence. No civilian casualties. Just business. And Ms. Carter becomes irrelevant to their operations. The threat was never really about her photographs. It was about Dae-jin using her as excuse to move against us. The room waited for Hyun-woo's decision. Lena watched him process variables, weigh costs, calculate outcomes with the same precision he applied to everything. Do it, he said finally. 3 days. Get the evidence. Deliver it to Black Tide leadership. Let them handle their internal discipline. The meeting ended. Lieutenants dispersed to their assignments. Lena remained seated, processing that her survival had just been reduced to corporate strategy and calculated betrayal. Hyun-woo sat beside her after everyone left. "You're angry." "I'm processing that my life was just saved by destroying someone else's." Dae-jin chose his path. He used you as excuse for actions he planned anyway. This just exposes what already existed. That doesn't make it feel less like manipulation. It is manipulation. But it's manipulation that keeps you alive. Keeps my people safe. Ends a conflict before it costs more lives. He turned to face her. "You wanted truth. This is truth. My world doesn't reward mercy. It rewards strategic thinking and calculated action. And where does caring fit into that? It doesn't. Except with you, somehow it does anyway." Lena met his eyes, those dark, calculating eyes that had seen too much violence and somehow still found space for vulnerability when she was near. "After this is over," she said quietly. "After Dae-jin is handled and Black Tide backs down and I'm no longer a walking crisis, what happens to us? I don't know. That's honest. It's terrifying." His hand found hers. "Because wanting you means giving you power to destroy me. And I've spent 15 years ensuring no one has that power. I don't want to destroy you. I want to know you. The person beneath the control. The man who reads to children and builds fortresses around his heart and kisses me like he's afraid I'll disappear. You might disappear. People I care about don't tend to survive proximity to my life. Then maybe I'm different. Or maybe you're different with me. Either way, we won't know unless we try." Hyun-woo pulled her closer, his forehead resting against hers. 3 days. Let me handle Dae-jin. Make sure you're safe. Then we figure out what this is. Promise? I promise. The evidence took 2 days, not 3. Jin-soo was efficient, thorough, impossible to deny. Financial records showing Dae-jin's embezzlement. Communications proving unsanctioned operations. Witness testimony from Black Tide members who'd grown tired of his ambition. They delivered it to Black Tide's central leadership through channels that ensured anonymity. Then they waited. The response came in 36 hours. Kang Dae-jin disappeared. Not killed, Black Tide was more subtle than that. Removed from power. Stripped of authority. Relocated to a position where his ambition couldn't threaten organizational stability. The war that had threatened to consume both organizations ended with a phone call. Black Tide's leadership apologized for the misunderstanding. Confirmed that Lena Carter was no longer a concern. Suggested future cooperation might benefit all parties. It was over. Lena stood in Hyun-woo's penthouse, the space that had been prison and sanctuary and home, watching Seoul's lights while processing that her life had been saved by strategic betrayal and calculated violence. "How do you live like this?" she asked when Hyun-woo joined her at the windows. "Constantly calculating. Always 10 steps ahead. Never allowing yourself to just be. I don't know any other way. Want to learn?" He looked at her, and Lena saw something in his expression that looked like hope wrapped in fear. "How?" She took his hand, leading him to the couch, then picked up her camera. "Sit. Lena. Trust me. Just once, trust me completely." He sat. Lena positioned herself across from him, camera raised. "Now what?" "Now I photograph you. Not the control. Not the strategy. Not the armor you wear to survive. Just you. Hyun-woo. The man who reads to children and builds empires and somehow found space in his fortress for me. I don't. Don't think. Don't calculate. Don't control. Just exist. Let me see you. She clicked the shutter. Once. Twice. 3 times. Capturing vulnerability he usually hid. Humanity beneath the violence. The person he'd forgotten existed while building protection around everything that mattered. When she lowered the camera, Hyun-woo was looking at her with an expression that made her chest ache. "Now you," he said. "What?" He took the camera from her hands. "Now I photograph you. The woman who walked into my world accidentally and refused to leave even when it would have been safer. Who sees me completely and doesn't run. Who makes me want to be more than just survival instinct in human form." Lena sat very still while Hyun-woo raised the camera, his hands steadier now, his expression focused with the same intensity he applied to everything, but softer, gentler, filled with something that looked like the opposite of control. He clicked the shutter. "There," he said quietly. "Now we've both been seen. Completely. No armor. No performance. Just truth. Is this what being with you looks like? Constant vulnerability wrapped in danger? Probably." He set down the camera, moving to sit beside her. "I can't promise safety. Can't promise normalcy. Can't promise anything except that I'll protect you with everything I have. What if I don't want protection? What if I just want partnership? Then you'll have to teach me how. Because I've spent 15 years learning to control everything. I don't know how to share power. Start small. Let me stay. Not as someone you're protecting or someone who's useful. Just as someone who wants to be here." Hyun-woo took her hand, his grip firm but gentle. "You're free to leave. Right now. I'll arrange transportation. Protection until you're safely out of Korea. You can go back to Brooklyn, to your life, to a world that doesn't involve violence and calculation and constant danger. Is that what you want? I want you safe. That's not what I asked." He was quiet for a long moment. "Then, I want you here. With me. Learning to be something other than just survival. But wanting something doesn't make it right. No. But choosing something makes it real." Lena shifted closer, her hand coming up to cup his face. "I choose this. You. The danger and the violence and the complications. Because underneath all that, you're just someone trying to honor your father's legacy while learning to be human again. And I want to be part of that. Why? Because when I'm with you, I remember how to be alive instead of just surviving grief. Because you see me completely, the anger and the fear and the desperate need to make sense of my father's death. Because we're both people trying to build something meaningful on foundations that probably shouldn't support us." Hyun-woo kissed her then, deep and honest and desperate, pulling her close like she was the only solid thing in a world built on violence and calculation. When they pulled apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. "Stay," he whispered. "I'm staying. No conditions. No timeline. Just, stay." "I'm staying," she repeated. "But Hyun-woo?" "Yes. We're doing this differently. No more control for control's sake. No more protection that feels like prison. We figure this out together. Equal partners." "I don't know how to do that." "Neither do I. We'll learn." Epilogue, 3 months later. The rooftop cafe overlooked Siren City's impossible density, Seoul's lights stretching to the horizon like earthbound stars. Lena photographed the view while Hyun-woo sat beside her, reading reports on a tablet, their silence comfortable rather than controlled. Min-suk appeared with coffee and his usual warmth. "You two look disgustingly domestic." "We're working," Hyun-woo said without looking up. "You're sitting. There's a difference." Min-suk set down the coffee, studied them both. You know people are still talking about this, right? Jae Hyun-woo, the famously isolated, finally letting someone in. Let them talk. I'm just saying, it's kind of nice. Seeing you human. Min-suk's expression sobered. Father would have liked her. The way she refuses to let you hide. I know. After Min-suk left, Lena lowered her camera. Do you regret it? Letting me stay? Letting people see you differently? Hyun-woo set down his tablet, taking her hand. I regret nothing about you. Only that it took me so long to understand that control and caring aren't mutually exclusive. You're learning. Because you're teaching me. And because I'm tired of surviving instead of living. Lena raised her camera one more time, capturing him in this moment, unguarded, honest, human. Then she lowered it, choosing presence over documentation. Some moments deserve to exist without being frozen. Without being made permanent. Just experienced and remembered and cherished as they happened. This was one of them. What are you thinking? Hyun-woo asked. That my father would have liked you. That he'd be glad I found my way to Seoul. That maybe this whole thing, the photograph, the danger, the impossible circumstances, maybe it was always supposed to happen. You believe in fate? I believe in choice. And I choose this. You. Us. Every complicated, dangerous, beautiful part of it. Hyun-woo pulled her close, kissing her temple. Then I choose you back. Every day. For as long as you'll have me. That might be a very long time. Good. Because I'm not letting go. If this story reminded you that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is let someone see you completely, that vulnerability is strength, not weakness, and that choosing love in a world built on control is the bravest rebellion, then subscribe to Afro-Korean StoryTales TV. Drop a comment, which moment destroyed you? The children's home? The market attack? The rooftop confession? The photograph exchange? Hit that like button if you believe some people walk into your life like a warning, and others stay like a choice you never want to undo. Because here at Afro-Korean StoryTales TV, we tell stories about people who refuse to survive when they could live. Who choose vulnerability over safety. Who understand that being seen completely is terrifying and necessary and worth every risk. Welcome home. More powerful Afro-Korean stories coming your way.